Welcome to How's Your E-Presence? I am Mark Galvin, your host and the founder and president of E-Presence, and we are the folks that produce this show. So E-Presence is a social media agency, and we manage company, personal, and collegiate social media. We offer consulting and creative services as well, and our website is epresence.me. That's epresence.me because it's all about you. So today, this episode is our news update, and we've got some interesting news that that's just literally popped up on the internet. And so we wanted to talk about this as soon as it popped up. So we'll get into that, and it's all about Facebook and how it works or doesn't work on the new iOS update. And so we'll get into that in a second. Want to highlight that we continue to run our webinar, and our webinar is, you can join us at ePresence, or actually the shortened link is e-pr.me/discount. So e-pr.me/discount. Join us for our webinars. $37.50. We have two versions of it. You can pop in there. We'll teach you how to make LinkedIn work better for you. For a lot of you that may be out of work or furloughed, or maybe you'd like to get a better ROI from your social media. So join us there. Since this is our news update, we're going to dive right into it. So let me go ahead and bring in our director of social media, Eric Welch. Eric, are you there?
Hey, Mark, I'm here.
Hey, buddy, welcome. Glad to see you here. This is it's good to have you live here on How's Your E-Presence. You're normally in the background punching all the buttons. So everybody that's watching this live, you'll see Eric. His eyes are darting back and forth because he's got to look over there and he's got to hit that button to get the banners going. So while you're doing that, I'm going to highlight where we're going to go. You good with that?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Cool. We're going to talk about Facebook. So here's what's happening with Facebook. This is hot off of the Wall Street Journal. You can probably find this anywhere out on social media world or any news channel. Facebook says that Apple's new iPhone update will disrupt online advertising. And here's what this comes down to. Facebook says that this upgrade will change the privacy on the system so that their quote-unquote audience network of business, which connects users to Facebook, identifies them off of the Facebook platform. So what does that mean? It's simply this, and this is actually really cool if you're an advertiser and you're in business trying to reach more people. If you set up an ad on Facebook and say, I'm willing to go to other platforms, what will happen is that ad will show up on the weather app or on the game app you're on or on the news app. And the reason is that Facebook has this relationship with this, as they called it, the audience network. And they're paying them a fee. Say, hey, if we can advertise on your platform, we'll go ahead and give you a little revenue and we'll push content to the platform if your audience matches the target of our advertisers. About 80%, when we've pushed out advertising, somewhere between 60 and 80% of the advertising that Facebook promotes is not on Facebook, the Facebook app, or Facebook.com. It's on this audience network. So here's what's happening. Apple is upgrading or changing the way their software works so that it's going to block a lot of that. And what Facebook has said is that the ads will either not reach the target audience, or the audience that receives their advertising may not find that the ad directly applies to them. So Eric, what do you think? Is this a great thing or is this a bad thing?
I think, we talked about this before the show. The hits just keep coming for Facebook ads. We went through the summer of the boycott with a lot of major companies kind of bailing on Facebook advertising. I think this is another wave that could negatively affect Facebook, as far as if people can't reach those extra eyeballs, they're just not going to do it. They're going to put their money elsewhere. I will say this about the audience network thing. I think there are some pros and cons to that. The pros, obviously, you get the benefit of more eyeballs across the board. However, if you put a lot of time and energy and money into figuring out your target audience, which is so crucial with any social media advertising, when you put it out on that audience network, you agree to that, you don't have all of the control over who sees that. So as you mentioned, your ad could show up on the weather app, and I don't know what the demos are for the weather app, but maybe it doesn't jive with what you have for your product or your service. So
you're really saying that it could be, you could show up on an app and that particular app is talking about something you don't want your brand associated with, but you don't have any control of that. It'll show up there.
Exactly. So on one hand,
so let's be blunt. So the local Catholic church wants to advertise. They put an ad out, they push it through Facebook, blah, 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 and it shows up on an app that's talking about abortions.
Right.
And so you're advertising on top of that. That's a really interesting point.
Right. Yeah. And so like I said, on one hand, you are getting extra eyeballs, and maybe some of those will fit whatever it is that you are offering, and then that's great news for you. On the other hand, it could just get ignored by a lot of people because it just doesn't really fit. So that's a little bit off of what today's news is. However, for people who put a lot of money and time into researching their target audience, it's best to stick with that on Facebook. Therefore, this news won't really affect them as much.
Yeah, I think it's going to greatly affect Facebook because it will reduce their revenue.
Right.
They just won't be able to push it to as many places. And if an advertiser doesn't see they're getting an ROI for their advertisements on Facebook, they're going to push it someplace else. So this is not good for Facebook. It is, but here's the other thing, is that what the Wall Street Journal article does not say is that users can opt in for that. So if you're a user on using the iPhone, you can decide you want these advertisements. You like them, and you can opt in for them. What's the challenge is if you're on the weather app's going to have to say, hey, would you like to receive Facebook advertising? Now, how do they phrase that? Don't know. How do they legally phrase that so you're opting in? Not sure how that works. What is interesting here is, and the larger picture is, Apple is under fire, right? They're creating some turmoil with Facebook now, and they were creating turmoil in the last couple of weeks with a group called Epic. And Epic is the company that owns Fortnite, which is a very popular game app. In fact, if any of you don't know about Fortnite and you have children and you're not watching what they're buying, I'll guarantee you they have a version of Fortnite on their phone. Fortnite what Epic was doing is they were upselling or selling products inside the app where it ran through their store, not through Apple's store. Apple gets 30% of everything that's sold on an Apple iPhone, and Epic, the owner, the parent company, Epic had figured out a way to have a commerce component where they were getting the revenue directly right out of the app. Apple shut them down. So you can't do that. Google Play, same thing, was also upset, and they shut them down. Well, here's where we are. Epic is now suing Apple and Google Play because they would like to control their own revenue. I think this is really interesting. Apple is one of the most successful U.S. companies in history, and part of it is they're able to create revenue streams. What does that look like long term if they lose this revenue stream? Can they continue to be as successful as they are? Because their products are awesome. I mean, I'm going to tell you what, I love an iPhone. It's one of the greatest things. There's a reason that their laptops are more expensive. They produce good stuff, and we pay for it in many ways. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. But Apple is the 800-pound gorilla in this point that has said to Facebook, no, you're not going to be able to advertise across platforms. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and I think in the long run, this is just the evolution of social media, and Facebook will figure it out. This isn't going to end Facebook or shut them down.
Right. Oh, good point.
They'll figure out a new way to make money, and a new way to help out their advertisers. I think this is probably for them. This is a bump in the road, and they'll work through it and they'll figure it out. And Apple will keep on. I don't think either company is in any danger.
Yes, that's a good point. Now, as you, the consumer or the business that's advertising on Facebook, this is a good example of why you should be diversified in your advertising dollars. Make sure you don't have all your advertising dollars in one place. So if you're only advertising in Facebook as of right now, you need to start advertising someplace else in addition to Facebook. Now, I wouldn't leave Facebook, but I would make sure that you're putting advertising dollars in Google AdWords. You're putting advertising dollars in Twitter, in TikTok, wherever your audience is. And notice I didn't say Instagram. Instagram's owned by Facebook, so they're going to be impacted. So, not Instagram, not Facebook. Continue to advertise there, but where else can you add digital marketing? And the other thing is make sure you're growing your email database, because growing that email database identifies your audience and you can speak directly to them. Still valuable. People may, a lot of those emails you may think feel like they go into the junk folder, but if your target audience is receiving them, they're clicking, they're engaged, and they can still buy. So good tips there. All right, Eric, what's going on with Instagram?
Hold on, let me click our button here. There we
go. See, I told you guys, he's looking all over the place. I got to hit that button.
Yeah. So, speaking, you mentioned
Eric, real quick, for those of you listening on the podcast, we do this on YouTube. So this is a live broadcast. We are on YouTube and Facebook Live, speaking of Facebook. And then we always drop this show again later as a podcast. And so if you're wondering what we're talking about here with his eyes darting back and forth, go check out YouTube, go check out Facebook, follow us or subscribe on those channels so you get notified when we go live. Rock on. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we're all over the place. So you mentioned Instagram, and obviously you can advertise on Instagram. You do that through Facebook, and as you're building out your Facebook ad, you get to a certain point where you can opt in or out if you want your ad to show up on Facebook or on Instagram, Facebook. You have control over that. You can decide where on Facebook your ad shows up, including Instagram. One quick note on that: if you are going to go the Instagram route, make sure that your image or your graphic or whatever your content is fits Instagram, because that's a different format than Facebook. So sometimes folks they'll have one version of their image and they put it all over the place and it doesn't fit. All the different platforms it's showing up on makes it not as effective.
That's really cool. Hey, by the way, we have somebody watching us. Trina Kinjo is tuned in. She's on our team. She says, "Hey, it's great to see your faces." This is what happens when you work in a remote world. We don't always get together. In fact, Eric, I don't think I've seen you personally in months.
Yes, it's
definitely been a while.
It's
kind of funny how. So she's tuning in to catch us to see how we're doing. So Trina, it's good that you're tuning in. Thank you. Tell all your friends.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
Go back to the show.
So what I wanted to talk about quickly today is growing your business on Instagram, because Instagram is huge and they have over 1 billion monthly active users, and 50% of those users are between the ages of 25 and 44. So that's prime.
What a demographic.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a prime demo for any service or product that you're offering. So here, I just wanted to give everyone some quick tips on if you are going to promote and grow your business using Instagram. And this is just organic Instagram is what I'm talking about, not necessarily paid advertising. But because Instagram is such a visual medium, whereas Twitter, for example, is text heavy. Facebook is a combination of both. Instagram, although obviously you do have a caption and you do have a space for that, visually is the biggest factor. So you want high quality visuals. You want your graphics to look good. You want your photos you really got to show off your product or your service. You want high quality photos. You want to build what your brand identity is. You want consistency is something I'm going to go to a couple times as I talk about this. Yep. You want the look and feel of your Instagram page to fit to match your website, to match the tone of your product. If it's something that's colorful, if it's a clothing line with bright colors, you want bright colors throughout all your images and the look and feel of your whole Instagram profile page. so that everything matches and everything falls in line.
So you're really talking about, it's not just the photograph, but the color in the photograph needs to be good. But if you have any overlays or text or anything, it needs to be congruent with your entire look.
Yes. Yeah. You want it just looks professional. It looks sharp. If everything is consistent throughout and you have a
Great
good look and feel so that your followers become comfortable with what you have. And another part of it is as they're scrolling through their feed, your stuff will jump out at them because they'll recognize it. You know, you get burned in the brain with what you're looking, your feel.
That's the branding piece, right? If you have a
Exactly.
consistent look, they'll recognize you. And if you show up on other formats, so you're advertising someplace else, they're automatically used to your look and feel. If that ad does show up on the weather app that we were talking about before, the look and the feel's the same. That helps you from your branding. It really is about branding. That's why you want to be consistent.
Yeah, and there are some accounts for personally, as I'm scrolling through Instagram, if I'm going through pretty quickly, something will catch my eye because I know it from a certain brand that I follow. And if it's something that I look forward to seeing whatever their next post is going to be, I might skip over it, but it'll catch my eye. I'll go back to it and I know exactly what the kind of stuff I'm looking for there.
Yeah, that's cool.
And as I mentioned, consistency is so important. And that also not only with the look and feel of what you're posting, but also with the amount you post, how often. 2 to 3 times a week is a good recommendation. And with that, you also that helps you stay top of mind with your followers. Go ahead.
So that doesn't sound like a lot. So you're really saying, I thought that Instagram should probably have a post a day if you're in business. So you think that 2 to 3 is the minimum, or 2 to 3 is the sweet spot? That's what you should be aiming at.
I would say that's the minimum of 2 to 3. I don't know if every day. In that case, I would say maybe up to 5 a week.
Sure. So, yeah. If you got, if you can provide value, and if you are selling something, let's be honest, we're all kind of selling something, but if you're driving your products through Instagram, what I would encourage you to do is share great content 8 times, and then 2 times have a call to action that's a sale focus. Click here to buy. And there is the component inside Instagram that you can have a marketplace that you can buy through Instagram. So I would encourage you to think about that. And how do you do, if I'm selling a product, I can show a product and say, this product is great for this. And then there's 1 post. And I do that for 7, or that plus 7 more. So 8 posts, I do that. Then the next 2, I can say, if you'd like to buy from us, buy from here. Now you sprinkle those 2 in. I'm not saying post 8 and then do 2 back to back that's selling. I would go in with 4, then put a call to action on post 5 that says, if you'd like to buy from us here, and then go another 4 and then buy. So, and the reason is people hate to be sold to, but they love to buy. So sharing great quality content with them. And here's what they do. Don't forget how that Instagram feed works. As simple as this. I can click on something that looks interesting, and then I'm going to go to that account. And then I'm going to start flipping through that account, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 stuff that's interesting. The 5th post, hey, would you like to buy? So you think about it, what you're doing is you're sharing great quality content, you're getting their attention, you're going to drive them back to your feed. Hopefully they're going to follow you. And as they go through it, they know consistently you're saying, here's how you can buy, and they'll get used to that. And I'm going to tell you what, they're going to buy. If they're landing on the feed, they're going to want to buy your product. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. So consistency, like we're talking about, it's crucial.
Sure.
In making sure that you have that look and the feel. And along with that, you want to post to your brand identity. So you don't want to veer too far off. So you establish whatever that brand identity is, the look and feel of everything. That doesn't mean you need to chase every meme that's out there. You don't need to do every trend. If you're in the clothing business and there's some sort of posting trend going on in the restaurant world or the food industry, that's not a good fit. Stay away from it. You can enjoy those posts, those trends, those memes as much as you want. You don't need to take part in it. But if there's something that makes sense and it feels right, then then it's good to go ahead and do it.
Needs to fit to your strategy, right? Make sure if you incorporate that, it complements the strategy.
Exactly. And then just a couple other quick tips before we wrap up. Just more along the lines of good content on top of showcasing whatever your product and services, or if you are offering any specials or discounts or any of that stuff. You want to showcase employees. A lot of times if you add a little bit of a personal touch, that you're not just this machine of advertising or photographs or whatever it is, that you have employees and you want to showcase them, and people respond to that. Something else people respond to, and I know this from my previous life in sports media, is behind the scenes content. People love behind the scenes content. I think this is something that gets overlooked a lot, and it's something that you don't want to overdo, but if you mix it in a little bit, show I don't know I forgot what the expression is, but how the sausage is made.
It's like somebody just told you that, said that to your ear. I did not say that to you.
No,
it came to you.
Came to me. I've heard that somewhere. Yeah. I'm not even really sure what it means, but I do know that it fits this because people like to see the behind the scenes of it. Well, not so much these days with remote working, but the conference room with your staff getting together, brainstorming ideas, and you see the whiteboard with all sorts of Post-it notes on it and drawings and trying to come up with new ideas. You don't have to show a detail of that where it gives away all those ideas, but just the behind the scenes stuff. As I mentioned in my previous life in sports media, anytime we did anything behind the scenes, when I was at a Braves game, we'd post a picture of an empty Braves dugout before the game, something that the normal viewer would not always have access to, or the batting rack, or the helmets or gloves, or people love that stuff because that's stuff they normally don't get to see.
Yeah, it's just not normal. I think that's cool. Yeah.
So if you have a t-shirt company and you have nonstop pictures of your shirts and your designs and everything, but you sneak in a couple of, well, here's how we make the shirts. Here's a quick video showing how we came up with the idea of this shirt. People love that stuff, and it'll really resonate with your audience.
Cool. Well, good, man. Anything else? We're at 23 minutes. We have so much stuff to share, and this Facebook piece was a big thing. So I know we talked about that for a little while. Well, folks, Eric, anything else? You good?
No, I think I'm good. I think we covered it all. I think one more quick thing with Instagram. Hashtags are important on Instagram. I know there's ongoing debate across social media over hashtags are either overdone or they're forced. I think that from 5 years ago, the evolution of the hashtag is pretty interesting for folks who work in this industry. But specifically to Instagram, I think hashtags are important. I don't think you need to add a wall of them at the end of your post, but I think if you add some important ones, it's a good way to grow your audience. So that if you are, I'll use the same example again, if you're a t-shirt company or you're a clothing company and you want to do the hashtag locally, if you want Atlanta t-shirts or t-shirt company or Atlanta clothing or whatever, so that when people are searching on Instagram and they want to buy a t-shirt that has something to do with Atlanta, they're going to search that and you're going to come up and they're like, oh, there's a whole company that does this. I had no idea. And
that's cool.
In theory, you've got a new follower.
I think that's really cool. All righty, man. Well, this is good stuff. And for all of you out there that are tuning in, we appreciate your watching us and your support. We are very interested in trying to provide you the very best content, and we will continue to look for that. We have shows every week that we're dropping, and oftentimes we're going to talk about news and bring on a wonderful guest. Yesterday, I had a conversation with Aubrey Horde, and she was a photographer that appeared on our podcast a few weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago or so. She's going to come back and do another episode on more about photography and how you can show up on your social media. So you're going to want to tune into that. But that's some examples of the type of work that we do. So please subscribe, follow us, and that way you'll be able to, especially subscribe to us on YouTube. You'll be able to see when we go live, or just catch us later on any of your your Apple iPod apps. Fortunately, they're not going to block us, but anytime you have a podcast program, I don't even use that. I use something called Overcast, one of the best podcast apps there are. It's a third-party podcast app. It's very easy to find. How's your e-presence? Just go in and look for our title and you'll find us. With that said, I just want to go back again and say, Eric, thank you so much for such great content. This program, we're finished for today. Make sure you guys follow us. And next time we are going live, you'll get a notification. Until next time, have a great afternoon.
Bye, everyone.